But, you know, they might have their whole computer muted. Who knows?
They might.
So they may not have heard it. But if they're in another tab, in the tab at the top, it'd be like, Kylie has sent a message.
Is that a dog at the bottom?
Yeah.
It's cute.
Gina's an actual dog.
Little schnauzer.
Talking to us today.
Smartest dog on earth, man.
Yep. Works at Salesforce.
All right. There is a... No. I guess we'll do this after the Hangouts. I'm not playing with it. It's a short agenda item to follow this presentation. I'm going to put on the microphone and video now so everybody knows. Hello, is everyone there?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
I think we have about everyone here, so I'll go ahead and get started so we don't take up more of your workday. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today. In this room, we have a couple different graduate and, well, all graduate students, I guess. Perhaps some online are undergraduate students. But today we are with Salesforce and a couple different people who will speak to us about what it's like to work there, how they enjoy, or I mean, how they got into tech writing and what they enjoy about it. And then we also hear a little bit about the internship program. So with that, I will turn it over to you guys.
Hi there, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, great. Well, we're really pleased to be presenting to you and chatting with you about technical writing and Salesforce. My name is Ari Lanker, and I'm a director in the content experience team. That is our lingo for documentation and user assistance. We recently rebranded the name of our team. And I'll be telling you about Salesforce as a company and what our team is like, and also a little bit of about our internship programs. Then Gina, one of our writers, will talk to you about her experience in getting into tech writing and other things, I'm sure. And then Michael, another one of our esteemed writers, will be answering questions along with Gina. And Michael, my understanding is you went to college in Texas too, right?
I mean, I lived in Abilene for a little while, and I ultimately went for the professional writing program at CMU, but I came this close to actually going to Texas Tech for their Master's in Technical Communication program.
That's great. Good. All right, thank you. And so I will present my screen. I need just to have the option to present. Let's see here. I'm looking for that right now. Usually I see this here.
Mine's on my far left side of the screen.
Yeah, Ari, it's the green on the far
Yeah,
left.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, you'll see lots of really cool illustrated pictures in this presentation, and these are actually characters and imagery from Trailhead, which is a really popular, fun, and engaging online learning platform that's gamified. And in your off hours, you might enjoy going to Trailhead to learn more about the awesome content that we create. Our team creates 75% of that external product-oriented content, as well as more traditional documentation and user assistance, such as online help and API guides, in-app user assistance, videos, implementation guides, and so on. So definitely check out Trailhead. All right, so this is going way into the future, but I just want to give you a heads up that for any folks who will be sophomores or juniors next academic year, or will be completing their master's degrees in 2019-2020 year, you will be eligible to apply for our internships for the summer of 2019. And so we'll let you know, we'll send links to our job postings for these internships in the late summer and early fall, probably in August or September. And we really encourage you to apply.
But yes, please do send those.
We sure will, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put them out to my
So who is Salesforce? Wow, well, we had really humble beginnings. We started in 1999 in a closet in an apartment in the North Beach neighborhood of San Francisco. So this was our server room, actually. When we first started off, this is Marc Benioff taking the photo. And since then, we've grown into an enormous company. We have 39,000 employees, 29,000 employees worldwide. Marc Benioff is our founder and CEO. He's been named as the decade's top innovator by Forbes magazine. He's rated on the CEO's list for top CEOs. If you watch 60 Minutes last Sunday, he was interviewed on 60 Minutes for equality, actually. Our company really, really believes in equality and looks at the salaries of everyone across the company every year for the last 2 years to ensure that particularly women's salaries are equal to men's salaries. And so 60 Minutes interviewed Marc Benioff about that. We're the 4th largest software company in the world today. We've received all sorts of awards as being one of the top places to work. And in fact, Fortune or Forbes named us this past year the best place to work in the world, actually, which was amazing to receive. These slides are from last year, but we are actually receiving $10 billion in revenue now, and now we have 29,000 employees. And here we are, Forbes, we were named, world's most top innovative companies 2 years in a row, on top of Tesla and Amazon and other great companies that you've heard of. And what do we create? Originally, we were creating software particularly for for sales representatives to manage their opportunities and their contacts and leads. They were horizontal applications. So in other words, if we have an application for salespeople, then it could be customized for salespeople of various different industries. Since then, we've expanded into an entire range of applications to manage customer relationships, for an application for service agents to handle support calls, marketing, online, analytics, so that companies can better understand the usage, online usage and behavior and shopping patterns of their customers. We have great social products like Chatter, which is kind of like Facebook, but for businesses and providing a really excellent way to collaborate. We have vertical industries products for financial services and healthcare. We're always acquiring new companies. Right now, we have a big effort to actually integrate all of our products and enable really easy integration with third-party products as well. And so really, even though our name is Salesforce, we're far beyond products for salespeople. It really spans the gamut. So why would you want to work at Salesforce? Well, we have a word called ohana, which means family in the traditional Hawaiian language. And you can see here, these are some of our major values. Innovation, giving back, wellness, winning as a team. We have an incredibly collaborative environment to work in. It's very open. We really appreciate and strive for diversity of all kinds at our company. And this feeling of family and openness and transparency, we extend not only within our company and employees, but outward to our customers and our partners as well. And so people really feel that when they work at Salesforce. It's this open feeling of kindness and collaboration that has kept me at Salesforce now for nearly 8 years. And it's for me, been the most amazing company that I've worked for by far. So we have all sorts of recognition for our culture. As I mentioned, best places to work, highest rated CEOs, number 4 best place for millennials. I don't need to read all of these, but just amazing recognition that we've received for being a happy place to work, best place to work, awesome CEO that is so highly admired, and so on. And we also really care about giving back to the world. We have a foundation, a nonprofit arm of our company that has given so much in funds to nonprofits and to various efforts to make the world a better place. And you can see here some of these efforts. Additionally, we have an amazing volunteer time off program, and all employees get 7 paid days per year to volunteer for a nonprofit of their choice. So we have excellent events, team events where we volunteer together, and that helps bond us as a team as well as do great things in the world. Yeah, and so when Salesforce was founded as a company, they created this foundation and donated 1% of their initial investment money towards creating nonprofits. And we give away our products to nonprofits or sell them at a steep discount. And as I mentioned, this volunteer time off is really powerful. And so a lot of what draws people to Salesforce is that sense of mission that we're not only making a great product for our customers, but we're actually giving back to the world, and it helps tie everything together. Salesforce is headquartered in San Francisco, though we have offices all around the world. And so if you work in San Francisco, there's so many wonderful things about living in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. So awesome food, great weather, great culture. We offer wonderful perks. We have an employment stock purchase plan where you can purchase stock for 15% discount. Essentially and minimally, it's like having a 15% savings account, every 6 months. We have a wellness allowance of $100 a month that you can use for whatever you want to feel better, gym, massage, yoga, whatever. Great 401k matching that's actually been raised to $5,000 this year.
Wow.
Educational reimbursement. So if you want to get a graduate degree, for example, or a certificate, or do other training that's related to what you're doing at work, Salesforce will reimburse you for doing that. We have a really generous paid time off policy. And as far as career growth and working on the content experience team, management is really important, and really it's about not viewing everybody as one size fits all. Everybody has their own unique drives and interests, and there's so much going on at this company that we can work together with the writers and tailor career paths for everybody so that they can pursue what it is that they're really interested in, whether it's writing for different kinds of products, creating different kinds of content, doing different kinds of project management, becoming a manager. There's just so much going on and a lot of variety. Not only that, but we have a career path for tech writers that we've presented at conferences. A lot of times at companies, tech writers don't really know what their path is for progression. There may not be any promotion opportunities, but we have a lot of those at Salesforce. And not only that, but as managers, we want our employees to be happy and fulfilled and satisfied. And if they're awesome, we want them to stay at Salesforce. And if people want to explore other careers at Salesforce, we're very supportive of that. So it's not all about having to be a tech writer forever. We have something called Opportunity Open Market. We do 3 releases a year. And if a writer wants to have a new opportunity and try something new, they can decide to step off their current teams and step onto new teams. So there's just a lot of opportunity for variety and growth. We have an awesome team. This is a picture of members of our team. We have a lot of fun. We're a little bit quirky and wacky and like to laugh and have fun together. And we're also a really diverse team and celebrate diversity as well. So what's an internship like at Salesforce? Interns are not pouring coffee for people, and they're not doing monkey work. We have so much to do that we have to give interns really substantial projects that are going to be used by our internal and external customers. And we're very, very conscientious and careful about the projects that we choose and the mentors that we select for our interns, and monitor it very closely to make sure that all the way around the internship is really successful, and that the intern is getting what they want out of the internship, and that they're going to come out of it with really substantial samples for their work. And in addition to that, there's definitely a chance that they could be converted into full-time if their internship is really successful. And interns really feel like they're a strong part of our content experience team. Interns are valued for their opinions and ideas and perspectives. It's always really good to get a fresh pair of eyes. And so, that's a little bit about the internship experience at Salesforce. We're very, very conscientious about it. We really care about this program. FutureForce is the department at Salesforce that organizes our internships at a high level. They handle housing, they handle salary and benefits and all of that. And they also coordinate a lot of events, like going to fun activities like baseball games and touring the city and whatnot, but also being able to network with other people at the company and hear presentations from very senior executives at Salesforce. And so it's a really great learning opportunity. Interns are given free housing in San Francisco. Really good program, FutureForce. So that's what I have to share about Salesforce and our internships. Thank you so much. I'll be available for questions.
Okay, and can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let's see here. Okay. View, present. Okay. Now you guys should see my presentation, correct?
Correct.
You got it.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, you've already been introduced to Astro, and so this might look familiar. And first of all, I want to say thank you for coming to listen to this, and I hope you're getting excited about the opportunities that are available, because I think it's a great field and it's a great company. So hopefully you're getting excited about what you've heard so far. My name is Gina, and I'm a tech writer at Salesforce. I work for Ari. And just a factoid, Ari and I started on the same day at Salesforce.
Yeah.
We went to the same recruiting events, and there was even one time a weird situation where we were coming off the BART train, which is our local metro, and we kind of like merged, and we were like at the top of the stairs together. It was just very strange.
On the first day.
Yeah, on the first day.
day.
Yeah, we're like, how are you? It was like so strange. So I've known Ari for a long time. Let's see here. Quick bio. Oh, and I wanted to show you, Ari did cover this. This is Trailhead, and I encourage you, if you get a chance, it's free, to go check this out. I'm logged in here. I've earned 42 badges so far. It's pretty cool. You can learn all kinds of stuff on here, so that's just Trailhead. And that's Astro, our mascot.
It's cute.
Yeah, Astro's very cute. Astro gets around too, by the way. Astro's very diverse in terms of his or her ability to do things. Now, I've been a technical writer for about 13 years, and I've worked at both big and small companies. The largest company I worked at has been Microsoft. I worked there a few years ago, and I've been at Salesforce for about 7 years. Let's see here. I started out working at a database company, and I say my path was indirect but focused. And the reason why is because I didn't graduate high school and go directly to college. I went to school at nighttime and worked full time. And many of you might have done that. It's not an uncommon way to finish school these days. And while I was at the database company, it was very exciting for me. I was at this company that was really doing cool stuff. And so I knew that I wanted to have a career, and I was kind of thought I wanted it to do with writing and technology. So I started doing informational interviews with people within the company. I talked to people in marketing, and I talked to people in the technical communication department at the time. And just based on my interests and my personality type and so forth, I thought that technical writing would be a better fit for me. And I think I was right. I've never regretted that decision. So I kind of knew that by the time I transferred into Berkeley. I finished my community college and then went full-time to Cal, and I majored in English. So that was really helpful. By the time I was at that level in the upper division, I kind of had a sense of what I could do with an English degree besides teach, because everybody assumes if you major in English, you're going to be a teacher. And I know I didn't want to be a teacher like at a public school or anything. That just wasn't something that I was particularly interested in at the time. And I also knew I wanted to work in technology. So it was kind of, I felt like that was really helpful to know those things about myself already. And so I graduated, and then I've been working in the San Francisco Bay Area since I graduated. And if you're not familiar with the area, it's a very big region where San Francisco is at the tip of a peninsula, and there's the peninsula, and there's companies like Evernote and so forth along the peninsula. And you get down to Silicon Valley, the San Jose area, and you have Apple and Facebook and Google and so forth. And you go across the bridge, the San Francisco Bay, and there's Tesla. So it's a very broad region. But Salesforce is here, headquartered in San Francisco. And what's not in this photo is now there's a new Salesforce tower here. And that changes the skyline drastically for San Francisco because it's a very tall building. And obviously now I'm at Salesforce. And what I did to prepare, I'm really hoping this will be useful. At least, I'm hoping this will be useful. That's my goal anyway. When I graduated, I did have an English degree from a very good school, but I also knew that I still needed to bone up on some, technical skills. And so I got a job that didn't pay very well, frankly, in an IT department, but it got me back into the technology arena. Excuse me. In the meantime, I would study and look at job listings to see what kinds of skills were needed if I wanted to be a tech writer. And I also took classes, some of which my employer paid for and some I paid for. I took HTML, cascading style sheets, etc. And I was able to develop a website actually for my old employer, and that was pretty cool. I love doing that. And I started attending STC meetings just as you guys are doing. And with the STC meetings, I started volunteering. I wrote for the newsletter for a while, and so forth. So I was doing all this stuff in preparation to become a tech writer. I didn't just rely on an English degree and start looking for a job. I really wanted to be prepared because I felt like I needed a few more skills before I started to apply. And as an aside, they weren't around at the time, but there's a great organization called Write the Docs that I really like, and I've attended their meetings. And the difference with STC is, one of the differences is that Write the Docs doesn't have any membership fees, and a lot of times engineers also come to Write the Docs. It's not just technical writers who attend the meetings. So that along with STC, you might want to check them out. I did a search for you guys in Texas, and there are meetings in Texas for Write the Docs, but I didn't see any in your area. Although there's a page you can look at here, and you can start your own meeting if you wanted to. So that's something to check out, and it's free. So that's kind of a nice resource. And finally, I sought out mentors. Before I worked as a tech writer, I talked to a lot of people, got advice from different people and so forth. And I have a little asterisk here, say buyer beware. And the only reason why I say that is because, there's a lot of people who give and offer great advice, but not all advice is created equal. So just be thoughtful about who's giving you the advice. Are they working? Are they really keeping up with the trends in technology? Because if you talk to somebody, even if they've been in the industry for many years, if they're not really keeping up, their advice might not really be on base, right? So to get around that, my suggestion is to talk to a lot of different people. And again, look at job listings, because the job listings will tell you a lot about the skills you need and what employers are looking for. Let's see. Look at the next page. And stuff I've learned. I've learned a lot. I think I have. I think I will say right off the bat, I think I made a great choice in terms of a profession for many, many reasons. It's for my personality type. But also software remains fascinating to me. And I should put a little note here saying, you can be a technical writer in many industries. It's not just software. I just happen to work in software, so that's what I'm speaking about. But, they need, for example, if you have a biology background, the life sciences needs tech writers as well. But in any case, I'm talking about software. And as you know, you don't have to really have me tell you this, that it's a fast-paced industry. Open the paper, not just every day, or if you just look at your Twitter, every half hour there's something happening. There's some big announcement by some company. So it's really interesting. It just never, ever gets boring, which is actually wonderful, because I don't ever finish the day thinking, oh God, that was just that just was such a slow day. It just never happens. It just never ever happens. And what I worked on today, for example, is different from what I did, 2 months ago. The products I work on, I might be on the same teams, but they're developing different functionality. There's something else I need to learn. So I like that. I like that because I feel like I'll never be bored. I'm not going to be leaving a job when I retire going, God, I was dragging through this last few years. It's just not gonna be happening. And regarding excitement about what I do, one of the things I'll just say in general, and this is just general advice, I guess, if you want to take it or leave it, is I hope you go into tech writing, but whatever you go into, bring a sense of excitement to it. Because I will tell you, years ago, I interviewed somebody who the person had a great resume. He was just so over it. He just did not want to, he was just so not interested in the job, it seemed like, and we all came away from the interview feeling that way. It's almost like, why are you still doing this? So hopefully you will, after the end of all this, feel excitement too, and feel good about going into the area. What I have to learn is a lot. I'm still learning a ton, always. For example, this is just off the top of my head. I mean, the list can go on. Like right now, I'm taking an online course to learn more about Git and GitHub. I already finished our trail. We have a trail on it at Salesforce. I already finished that trail, a Trailhead module. I want to learn more about AI. I want to learn more about Confluence. There's just so much. It's never ending. And again, that's what I like about the job. Now, I will say, if you're a personality type that's like, I want to get a job and coast, this is not the job for you, because you really need to be engaged and excited and so forth. So, and it's not hard to stay excited. I will tell you that. This is just giving us all advice. What about you guys, though? What I will say is I personally think, and Michael and Ari can both speak to this, but I think there's a ton of opportunity. As I already mentioned, there's news constantly about the changes in technology, and it's just so exciting. And so I'm kind of excited for you, honestly. There's so much stuff going on. Say also, as you go into the big old gigantic job search field or whatever you're going to be doing, try to focus a little bit, and what I mean by focus is try to get a sense of where your strengths are. And the way to do that is to talk to people, take more classes if you need to, attend more events like this, to get a sense of where your interests lie and so forth, and that'll help you as you start, exploring more opportunities. And leverage the excitement and fresh perspective you have as you come into the profession, because just because someone has a lot of experience does not mean they have all the answers. I learned a lot from colleagues who have been in the profession not as long as I have. So remember that whatever you bring is valuable to the profession. And I just say that because sometimes if you're a newcomer to something, you might feel a little insecure. But I would argue that what you bring is a fresh perspective, and you bring ideas, and you might have knowledge that those of us who've been doing this a while don't. So just remember that. And finally, I'd just say, don't ignore tech skills, which sounds weird to tell you guys this because you're at a technical university. But for example, in technical writing, at Salesforce, we use DITA, we use XML. Those are some of the tools that many tech writers use. So think about those skills you might need if you decide to go into the field, and don't ignore them. And I say that only because I do sometimes get questions from people who are interested in the field, and it doesn't happen often, but I've had it happen where the first thing they'll say is, I was an English major, do I really need tech skills? And it's like, do you really want to go into tech writing? If that's your first question. So yeah, tech skills, you don't have to be a developer. I don't want to scare people. You don't have to be a developer, but you, at the same time, you have to have an interest and aptitude for technology. And again, from here, I'll just say, let's open it up for questions, and not just for me. Please ask Ari and Michael questions as well, because they can add to or counter what I said. And thank you for allowing me to speak to you guys.
Thank you. All right. Anybody have questions right off the top of their heads?
Michael, we've heard from Gina and Ari about their experiences, kind of how they got to Salesforce. I think we'd all be curious to see kind of what your background is and how you found yourself in the position you are.
All right, yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? Am I coming through all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah. I'm actually, like I mentioned before, I came pretty close to actually going to Texas Tech. I graduated with psychology and an English degree. And I was from right out of the gate, I was interested in technical writing, so Texas Tech and Carnegie Mellon were probably my two top picks. And I even went out to, I was flown out to Lubbock, and everybody there seemed really great. The program seemed really interesting, but I think when it came down to it, I think it was offered a little bit more financing from CMU, so I went that route.
When did you
and
come?
then-
Just curious.
Oh, what's that?
When did you come visit? I'm just curious.
It was during the spring of 2011.
Okay, so that's before we all got here.
So, yeah.
Very
there might
shortly
still-
before we all got
Yeah.
here.
I'm still kind of in touch, or I became friends or Facebook friends with a couple people, like Tim Elliott and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know
Carly
too.
Finseth, I think,
Yep,
or
yeah.
a couple of people I don't keep in close touch with, but we were both all there that same weekend.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, they both seem really great. But I went ahead, as part of the program that I went to, we all have to do required summer internship. And I did mine at Research Triangle Park in North Carolina with IBM. and a couple of my other classmates did theirs at Salesforce. And my internship was fine, it was great. We all had like 1 semester left after our summer internship. And these two, Sam and Alex, who are also still with the company, just came back and could not stop raving about the company, how great it was, how great the managers and the people were, how amazing all the benefits were. And they both really fell in love with the Bay Area, that I was almost kind of a little suspicious of them at first. I was like, that just sounds like a little bit too good to be true. And certainly the company, isn't perfect, but it like everything that Ari and Gina mentioned, like there's a great amount of opportunity for growth. There's a defined career path. The company is like very socially conscious and has like a great emphasis on work-life balance. And there's also like just the sheer amount of like the variety of different things that you can work on. Like whether you want to author video scripts, or I definitely check out some of the Trailhead modules, or just traditional help documentation. And the opportunity to just go ahead and move or transition to like a different role once you're with Salesforce. Like I did not, believe Sam and Alex when they came back from their internship, but after having, interviewed at the company and having been here for like 5 years, they set a high bar, but it was really great, yeah. And I'm happy to answer any more details about my day-to-day work or anything like that as well.
Anyone else?
Well, I mean, you brought it up. I mean, last year, what is the day-to-day life like?
I mean, I'd say for like a lot of writers, and at this point, like our team's grown, or it's like doubled in size or more than that since I started working. So I think we have over like 150 writers. So there's like a great amount of variety in what it is that you may do. You may author strictly internal documentation. I work on like the sales cloud side, so very front user-facing type stuff. Different teams, or like on the platform end where Ari works, I think there's like a little bit more value for like a technical, having more like a technical background there. But I'd say for a lot of writers, we basically the company has 3 different software releases a year. And so at 3 different points during the year, we get like very busy. Actually, we've got one of our big deadlines today, as it so happens. So 3 times a year, you just basically need to make sure that all of the content, and usually most writers are assigned to anywhere from 2 to 4 different Scrum teams, and you're just responsible for all of the documentation for each one of those teams, whether it's help documentation, API doc, any user interface text. And so there's like a slightly earlier deadline for all of the user interface text, but basically like today, for example, is when we need to make sure that all of our help, release notes, all that information is correct. So today isn't a typical day. I'd say most days, the company offers like enough flexibility that you have time between these major deadlines to work on, say, some of this Trailhead content or on some like blog posts. But I'd say most days I'll try to go ahead and attend 1 or 2 of my team's Scrum meetings. And we've got different documentation related initiatives that you can get involved with. I'm kind of struggling to think of like what a typical day looks like because it often varies. Like right now, I'm trying to get as much of the release notes and like all the help stuff for my teams as accurate as possible before the end of the day.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Thanks, Michael. I think it's important for people to visualize that the tech writing occupation isn't just sitting in front of the computer writing documentation. It's highly interactive with other people. And so a lot of the time, writers are meeting with their Scrum teams and product managers and other writers, for these different initiatives that Michael mentioned. It ends up being maybe about 20% of the time, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Gina and Michael, that you're actually spending writing documentation. It's a lot of research and interviewing and meetings.
Yeah.
And so it's very much a communications job with writing being, of course, the end product.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think there's a lot of interaction, and to add to that too, and hopefully no one's like this, but if you're a type of personality where you're like, I wrote something and it's my Pulitzer Prize winning technical doc, and nobody can touch it. That's not the way it works. We edit each other's work. I get feedback from engineers and from editors and all kinds of folks, and Ari too. So it's important that you take pride in your writing, but also be flexible, because we're not writing for ourselves. We're writing on the behalf of the company, and because of that, there's a lot of input to the writing that we do. And I actually find it useful, because it's always good to have editors for one thing, but in general though, having another set of eyes on something you've spent a lot of time with is usually useful. So yeah.
So you mentioned that you talk to like engineers and editors. Could you elaborate more on who you would talk to in a typical project or day to day?
Do you want to go, Michael, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and Ari and Gina did a much better job of answering that question than I did, I think. Yeah, again, most of it is communicating with others, and sometimes your team will like ask you for specific bits of like UI text or like grammar type questions. But yeah, the majority of the job is communicating with your different Scrum teams. I know, so there are different teams of anywhere from like 5 to like 10 developers, and I'd say I spend most of my time interacting directly with like some of those key developers, and also these different product managers for each of these teams that often like work closely with customers and also marketing as well. So I'd say I spend most of my time just interacting directly with these teams, whether it's like the developers, the product managers, asking them whether or not like any documentation or anything that I've written is like technically accurate, or if it fits like the specific use case or terms that it is that we want to use. But I'd say I still spend like about a third of my time just with other writers as well, whether that's actually getting my content edited or collaborating with other writers when our teams are working on similar features.
Very
Cool.
Gina, I had a question for you that I wanted to ask before it gets too late. You were talking
sure.
about, I really appreciate that you talked about your journey, I guess, into tech writing. And I was wondering, since you did all of that work by looking at job ads and seeking out mentors, if you could talk about emerging trends in the field that you are seeing even now, that you think maybe ideally we could learn now or teach our students in our classrooms.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think AI, I don't know if it's a trend, I wouldn't call it a trend, but I don't think AI is going to go away. And let me think, what else? And I'll have Ari and Michael help me out here. But that's honestly the first thing that came to mind, like is AI.
Another one that keeps coming up.
What did you say, Michael?
The IoT cloud, having
yeah.
smart connected products like smart toothbrushes, and just having like your mobile phone connected to like say your Tesla or your vehicle and everything like that.
And I'd like to add, in terms of trends in the tech writing industry, certainly there's data, and that's been around a really long time. Structured content. Also, if you look at our release notes and Trailhead, you'll see that we definitely gravitate towards having a more fun and engaging voice and tone. Certainly in our developer documentation, you'll have more straight ahead, dry kind of voice and tone. But for more end user content and for business users, in our Trailhead content and even release notes, you'll see some jokes here and there. And of course, we need to be culturally sensitive, and we need to factor localization and translation into account. But I think the impression of technical writing can be that it's extremely dry. And check out our docs, because you'll see that it's not that way. quite a lot of the time. And so that's one trend, and I think a lot of companies are doing that. And definitely we're putting a lot of effort into making our content accessible in our application based on what the user is doing at the time and the use case and the issues that users are having. So eventually, what are they doing in the app? There's actually a video in the app that will help users, or the app knows what the user is doing and actually surfaces the content in a panel right there, so that the user doesn't actually have to go to some sort of external help site, or even to click on the help link, to see what topic is associated with that task. That it'll actually all be presented to the user without them having to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm sorry, I totally agree with what Ari just said. Yeah, that's really important, because whenever a user has to leave an application to find information, they start getting annoyed, potentially. So I think, that's a very important trend, I guess, that where we want to keep users in the app and give the app, deliver the help right to them within the app.
Absolutely. And another thing I'll add, and discuss this at TTU, is it's been around a long time, but just the philosophy of writing from a standpoint of minimalism. When, as a manager, we have to look at resourcing projects, and writers have so much to do, and we're producing so much product, we really have to we only have the bandwidth to create the content that users really need. We do not have to explain everything. We don't want to explain everything. The basis of software development has to be that it has to be as intuitive as possible. You start from that, and if it's not intuitive, if it is intuitive, there's nothing else to add other than the user interface text. If it isn't intuitive, then that's where you have to start explaining things to customers. And so, I theoretically, I think, we might feel like we need to write everything, but when the rubber hits the road, and we're on a 4-month release cycle and we don't have a lot of time, and we have to be very careful with how we spend our resources. Minimalism is especially important, not only from that context, but also from what the users need, so that they don't need to be pouring through so much content in order to find what they're actually looking for.
Sure. Any other questions?
I think I'm good over here. Anybody else?
Anybody online have questions?
No.
Do people have any questions about breaking into tech writing? What your concerns are? Any tips? I'm a manager. You can hear about things from my perspective too, and what I look for when hiring people.
You got something?
Yeah, I do. I have a question. Speaking on, I have a master's in tech comm from here. I'm doing my PhD. There's always this, I'm at this point where I have to sort of make a decision either to go into industry or go into academia. And I don't know if it's really a rumor, but there's this saying that once you get a PhD, you can be overqualified for a lot of positions in industry right out of the gate. Is that actually true? Do you see people with PhDs applying for industry jobs and still making the cut? Do they get any? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we've seen people. No, we've had PhD people, right? Ari.
Maybe we have 1 or 2 PhDs in tech writing. For myself as a hiring manager, that would never stop me from being interested in a candidate at all.
Cool.
At all. I don't think about people being overqualified for a position.
Awesome. Yeah, I've just been hearing that a lot.
They just need to be great fits for the role. You hear that a lot?
Yeah, I hear that. Well, I hear that a lot from just from people in other fields. They're like, oh yeah, well if you go too far, there's a certain level of over specialization, like you're too into one thing. But with tech writing, I get in this program, I feel like I have a lot of different skill sets, including like hard skills like programming and things like that could make me applicable to industry rather than academia. Because I mean I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence, so I'm trying to make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. The over specialization piece. What I'll say is I look for flexibility.
Sure.
As well, and just because someone has a PhD doesn't necessarily, it just means they've gone really deeply into one area. But ultimately, are you interested, in and able to learn about a variety of different technologies and to write in different kinds of styles for different kinds of users?
Sure.
Are you collaborative?
Sure.
Are you ego based in your work, or not? I look for those kinds of skills. Obviously, writing skills. I look for technical ability. Certainly, as Gina mentioned, I mean, if you have only an English degree, as a hiring manager, if someone has an English degree and they're an excellent writer, but they haven't done anything to demonstrate their interest in technology or their ability to dig deeply into it and learn it quickly, then for me, that's a bigger risk. And so it's the writing, interpersonal skills, working collaboratively, being able to manage your time and juggle, and so on, project management, and the technology piece. Those are the three main areas that I look for.
Awesome.
I like that.
Yeah, thanks. The interpersonal skills is always it's always a good thing to know.
Very important, very, very important, especially in such a collaborative environment.
Sure.
What I'll say is, from my experience at Salesforce, we stress that much more, the interpersonal piece, more than any other company that I've worked at.
Oh.
Cool. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, before we let you go, could we get everybody to have their face on the screen so we could take a picture?
Is that possible on here?
I think so.
Great. It would be great to see all of you.
Is it possible? We could do this. We could make this panoramic, and then it could do the whole room, and then we could get in one side. It's up to you. I don't know. What do you want to do?
I thought everybody could go down towards the screen so their faces could be on the screen.
That wasn't a thing for us, it was for them.
Oh, okay. I'm confused, obviously. So.
All you need to do is get by the TV.
Yeah.
I'm already here. I'm already by the
Get
TV.
closer.
I'm so close to this TV right now.
Let's see if we can fit all of us over here as we all huddle.
Here, baby.
Yeah, I felt bad
You
because
can
last year I
either
didn't
do here or
think we
you
got
Let me
it.
stand up one of those.
Man, why you gotta do this to
The
me?
TV.
Yeah.
Here, I'll kneel down like this.
Excuse me. All right. Are people on Google Hangouts able to put their face on the screen, or
That
does
might be on our end, wouldn't it? Be able to panoramic or to like Brady Bunch it? Can you do that on Google Hangouts?
Instead of like active
No,
speaker.
you can.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm making things up.
What does this show you? Oh, just apps. You don't want that.
Okay,
You
this will
have
be
to
fine.
see
I
Ari
can
and
see
Michael.
me.
Yeah,
Wow.
we can see all you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Thanks for your patience and cooperation. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and again for blinkers. Perfect.
Awesome.
Hooray.
Taking pictures with TV's the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate your time that you took out of your work day to come speak to us. We will look forward to
Our
getting
pleasure.
links about internships and updates on what you've got moving on, and we'll be in touch about talking to you again
Yeah.
next semester or school.
Sounds great. All right.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Good luck on hitting your
Thank you, guys.
deadlines, Michael.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it.
All right.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ari.
Bye.
Bye.